A milky fog hung low over the fields, shrouding the lush landscape in an ethereal silence. The morning was still young, the air, heavy with dew, clung to the blades of grass. A gentle breeze stirred, whispering secrets through the tall reeds. The world was waking up. A symphony of birdsong filled the air, a chorus of chirps and trills. The rising sun cast a pale golden glow on the fog. Its diffused light painted the scene with a soft, otherworldly brush. The world was at peace, but as the sun climbed higher, the fog began to dissipate. The details of the landscape emerged slowly. The leaves of the trees dripped with moisture, reflecting the sunlight in 1,000 tiny diamonds. The world was coming alive. A rabbit hopped cautiously out of its burrow, its nose twitching at the scents of the morning. A family of ducks glided across the glassy surface of a nearby pond. Life was teeming, vibrant and full of promise. The day was young, and the world was full of possibilities. The tranquility of this dawn was palpable. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated beauty. The fog, the dew, the birdsong, all blended into a harmonious symphony of nature. It was a reminder of the power and the fragility of the natural world. The world was at peace, but this peace was not to last. The air crackled with a sudden, unexpected tension. The harmony was broken. Something was coming. A snail inched its way across a moss-covered rock, oblivious to the shift in the atmosphere. Its shell glistened with moisture. Its delicate antennae probed the air, sensing the world around it. The snail was a creature of habit, slow and deliberate in its movements. It was a creature of the earth, grounded and connected to the rhythms of nature. The snail was content. But then a high-pitched screech pierced the air. It was a sound like nails on a chalkboard, jarring and unsettling. The snail recoiled, its antennae retracting into its shell. The sound was alien, unnatural. It reverberated through the fields. The birdsong ceased abruptly. An unnatural silence descended upon the landscape. The world held its breath. The snail remained motionless, its body trembling with fear. The sound came again, closer this time. It was a sound of chaos, of impending doom. The snail sensed danger. It was a primal fear, instinctive and overwhelming. The snail wanted to flee, but its pace was agonizingly slow. It was trapped, vulnerable. The snail was not alone in its fear. The rabbit had vanished back into its burrow. The ducks on the pond huddled together, their eyes darting nervously. The air was thick with tension, heavy with dread. The world was bracing itself for something unknown, something terrible. The peace of the morning had been shattered, replaced by a cold, creeping fear. A deer stood frozen in the middle of the field. Its eyes were wide with terror, its nostrils flared. It had been grazing peacefully moments before. Now it was caught in the grip of a waking nightmare. The deer's world had been upended. The ground beneath its hooves began to tremble. A low rumble resonated from deep within the earth. The sky, once clear and blue, darkened abruptly. Ominous clouds gathered overhead, swirling and churning with unnatural speed. The air grew heavy, oppressive. The temperature plummeted. The deer shivered, its breath forming white puffs in the frigid air. The world was transforming, warping into something unrecognizable. The nightmare intensified. Cracks snaked across the field, splitting the earth open. The rumble grew into a deafening roar. Trees swayed violently, their branches snapping like twigs. The deer stumbled, its legs trembling. The world was dissolving into chaos around it. The deer's fear was primal, visceral. It was the fear of the unknown, the fear of the end. The deer bolted, its hooves pounding the earth. It ran blindly, desperately seeking escape. But there was nowhere to go. The chaos was all-encompassing. The earth bucked and heaved. The sky unleashed a torrent of rain and hail. The world was being torn apart. The deer was lost in a maelstrom of terror, its cries swallowed by the roar of the storm. The storm raged on, relentless in its fury. The fog had long since vanished, replaced by a swirling vortex of dust and debris. The once serene landscape was now a scene of utter devastation. The trees that had stood for centuries were uprooted, their branches scattered like broken bones. The pond was a churning mass of mud and water. The world was unrecognizable. Miraculously, the snail had survived. Its shell was cracked, its body battered, but it was alive. It emerged from the wreckage, its antennae tentatively probing the air. The snail was disoriented, confused. Its world had been turned upside down, but it was alive. The rabbit, too, had weathered the storm. Its burrow had provided shelter from the worst of the chaos. It emerged cautiously, its nose twitching at the unfamiliar sense of the transformed landscape. The rabbit was wary, alert, but it was alive. The ducks, huddled together on a small island of debris, watched the storm with wary eyes. Their feathers were ruffled, their bodies shivering, but they were alive. The storm had passed. The world was still in chaos, but life, tenacious and resilient, had endured. The animals, survivors of the cataclysm, surveyed the ruins of their world. They were battered, bruised, but alive. They were a testament to the resilience of life, to the indomitable spirit that drives all creatures to survive. The world had changed, but life, in its infinite forms, had adapted. The deer, though injured, found its footing on the unsteady ground. It limped towards a patch of surviving clover, hunger outweighing its fear. The rabbit, its nose twitching, hopped onto a fallen log, surveying the altered landscape. Its instincts, honed over millennia, guided it towards a thicket of berry bushes, offering sustenance in the midst of chaos. The snail, its pace agonizingly slow, inched its way towards a patch of damp moss, seeking refuge and nourishment. The ducks, their wings spread wide, took flight once more, their calls echoing through the shattered landscape. They circled above the ruins of their pond, their instincts drawing them towards a distant stream, a source of life in a transformed world. The animals, once strangers, were now bound together by their shared experience of survival. They were a microcosm of life itself, interconnected, interdependent. The chaos had revealed the fragility of life, but it had also illuminated its resilience. Nature, in its unpredictable power, had reshaped the world. But life, tenacious and adaptable, had found a way to endure. This was the essence of existence, the eternal dance between creation and destruction, between chaos and order. The world would heal, life would flourish anew. The cycle would continue.